Hi everybody, I'm Brendan Reynolds. And I'm Quinton Reynolds, and today we're here to settle the great debate. We've been debating for years to see who can build a better fire. And today we're going to put our skills to the test. We're each going to select a style of fire and a fire starter. And we're going to see who can build a better fire. That's right, Quinton. So we're going to be able to choose from the types of fire such as a lean-to, a council fire, a teepee fire, and a log cabin. And for our fire starters, we're throwing matches out the window. We have the options of either flint and steel or 9-volt battery and steel wool. For my fire, I chose the teepee fire. The teepee fire structure is one of the easiest structures to build, especially because heat rises. So when you put those sticks over your source of heat, they'll light on fire, which will continue the fire to combust. I also chose flint and steel for my fire starter. This is relatively simple and it'll give me a good spark to get things going. So I chose the log cabin fire. The log cabin fire is a great fire for radiating heat because of the way that we are going to lay our kindling. It will allow for heat to escape out the sides to create a wide bed of coals. This is a great fire to cook over. I also chose 9-volt battery and steel wool for my fire starting method. This is a super great and quick way to get a fire started because all you have to do is touch the 9-volt battery to the steel wool. It is important though to make sure you keep these separated at all times because once they come into contact, it can light this on fire. But first things first, we need safety. So I'm gonna go fill up some fire buckets in case my fire gets out of control. We wanna find our fuel source. So we have to start with the smallest type of fuel, which is our tinder. You want your tinder to be thinner than your pinky and not much larger than your hand in length. A cool trick to find tinder that's dry is if you find a pine tree, these pine trees grow off branches about a foot apart every year, and the top branches get all of the sunlight. So these bottom ones die, but they stay above the ground so they don't get soaked in water. So these are nice and dry and very easy to light on fire. So I've already found my tinder, but now I need to find kindling for my fire. Kindling is gonna be about as thick as your thumb, no thicker than your thumb, and about the length of your forearm. No longer than the length of your forearm, I should say. Kindling is often found on the ground. It's dead branches. You don't wanna try and light anything that's still alive, still green, because it's gonna smoke and not burn rapidly or quickly as we would like it to. So a good way to test if you get a nice snap from our kindling, that's a great way to tell versus if I tried to take this branch and see how bendy it is before it breaks, that means it's still green and it's not gonna burn. I've officially hit the jackpot. While Brennan's over there picking up sticks off the ground, I found this dead pine tree, like I said before, with these really nice, thin, dry branches to help me get my fire started. I'm not sure what kind of wizardry Quinton pulled to grab tinder that quick. So I'm a little bit behind here, but fortunately for me, log cabin fires are an easier fire and a quicker fire to build opposed to the teepee because it takes some time to get the sticks to balance just right on the teepee. So right now, I'm grabbing what I'm gonna light my fire with. So I'm gonna use the 9-volt battery and steel wool, and then the spark's gonna light this. This is what we call rope. So what it is, this is natural fiber rope. It's just a rope and we're fraying it. That's where rope comes from. The fire actually needs 3 main things, which we call the fire triangle. The first one being oxygen, like I already mentioned. The second one being fuel, which we have here. Make sure you have all of the fuel that you're going to need before you start lighting your fire, because if you start lighting your fire and then you run out of fuel and you gotta run away to go get more fuel, then it can go out and then also you're leaving your fire unattended. So make sure that you have all of your fuel. So you need oxygen, you need fuel, and then the last thing is heat. So I got a nice big nest of rope here. I put my tinder directly on top of the rope, kind of trying to keep it up and so that way the rope has room to light. I don't want to suffocate my fire. Now I'm gonna take my kindling and I'm gonna lay it out just like linking logs, alternating the way I go. So we're gonna go across with 2 sticks this way, and then we're gonna go perpendicular to those going this way, just like so. And I'm gonna do that until I build it up so I get to a good height. And once I do that, I'm gonna put a little bit more kindling on top just to help get that to catch. So while Brennan was gathering all of the sticks, I had plenty of time to make this large nest of rope so that hopefully when I send the spark in with the flint and steel, it'll have a nice base to catch it, and then it can ignite from there. I got my steel wool right here. You'll see how just right when I touch it, it's gonna create an electric current, which will cause the steel wool to spark and hopefully catch the rope on fire. I also have a backup supply of tinder here, an extra piece of rope in case I need to make rope, and then some more kindling, my bad, here. That's just in case if this fire doesn't get going the way I want it to, it kind of dims down, I can add it readily right to the fire. I don't want to get caught in a place where I'm trying to run around to grab wood while I don't have a big fire going. I also grabbed a couple pieces of fuel. You don't need to waste a lot of energy grabbing this initially, because once your fire is lit and stable and going, you'll have the opportunity to walk around and grab some bigger pieces of fuel. So let's see how it goes. While blowing on my fire, I took nice, long, steady breaths. This adds a constant rate of oxygen into the fire. If you blow on the fire too quick or too hard, you have the risk of having your fire go out just like a birthday candle. Successful in getting my fire lit. As you were watching, you probably noticed it wasn't the cleanest of lightings. It didn't just go right up. I actually, at one point, needed to reach for the additional tinder I had, so I was very happy I spent the time to gather it. Your structure isn't going to look perfect, especially when you're using these alternative methods of starting a fire, such as flint and steel or 9-volt battery and steel wool. It's going to take a little bit and a little bit of trial and error to get your fire going, but I'm happy with this, and let's see how Q did. So I finished building my teepee structure. I have all of my small tinder on the inside, and then as I grew outside, I used some of the bigger kindling, and I have the rest here so that I can add it on once the fire gets going. I had a good lead on Brennan, but now I have to use flint and steel to start my fire. This isn't always a quick process. It takes patience. You have to try and get a spark from the flint and steel, and I'm gonna try and get it right into the nest of rope that I've made. I also made sure when I was making the structure that I made an opening in the back so that I could get the flint and steel in there right onto the rope and get it ignited. Also, it allows for air to get in. So here we go. See how the wind is pushing the fire to this side of the teepee. It is lit. A lot of the difficulty I had though was getting the flint and steel to get a spark and catch the rope going. But then once it caught, the wind picked up and the oxygen got into the rope and it was able to ignite pretty quickly. So now we got this fire going. I just got to make sure I tend it because like I said, the wind is pushing it this way. So this stuff that's back here isn't really going to light right away. I have to make sure that the wood stays over the fire. But all in all, I think this was a success on my part. And then finally, when we wrap things up, we're just gonna wanna make sure we extinguish these fires properly, which means that we have the water buckets filled up. We're gonna douse these fires with water and make sure that they're completely out, which means that there's no embers, they're cool to the touch, and everything is soaked, so there's no chance of a fire lighting back up again. So by adding water to the fire, I'm taking away the heat from the fire triangle so that it can't stay lit anymore. And then what I can also do is I can separate the fuel to take away another aspect of the fire triangle. So you spread it out so it doesn't have anything to ignite. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the video and enjoyed Quentin and I competing in our fire building skills. You know, it's important to remember though that fire is a tool and it can be dangerous when used improperly. The fifth point of the Leave No Trace principles is to minimize campfire impacts, and a part of the outdoor code is to be careful with fire. It's important to recognize that Brennan and I are both adults and we have worked at Campcraft for many years, and so we know how to properly build a fire. We built our fires in regulation fire pits. There are no branches overhanging them that could possibly catch on fire. There's also, it's wide enough that if the fire were to fall over, it would fall over inside of the fire pit. And most importantly, the first thing that Brennan and I did was we filled up our fire buckets. So if something were to get out of hand, even though we have lit plenty of fires, there's always that opportunity. If something were to get out of hand, we would be able to put it out right away. So make sure you guys have the proper supervision when you are building and constructing your fires, whether that be an adult leader, a scoutmaster, or just your parents or an older scout. Lastly, comment below on who you thought had the better fire and fire building technique. It was me. And then we'll reveal the winner of our fire building competition during the Saturday portion of the Yagoo News. See you soon. Thanks.